Let's be honest, gluten-free bread is kind of a scam. It's overpriced, ultra-processed, and tastes like congealed cardboard. Oh, and when it comes to nutrition and health, most gluten-free bread is worse for you than regular wheat bread, including some of the premium brands. But there are a few that are doing it right, and today I'm breaking down exactly which ones pass the test and why I think they're worth your money. Hello, lovely people. I'm Nicole, and I'm not gluten-free. I'm not gluten-sensitive. I'm a sourdough teacher, and what I always look for in a loaf is taste, texture, and nutrition, that magical combination that's just missing in most gluten-free breads. So going into this test, I didn't have high expectations, and yet it was a revelation to discover how surprisingly distinct they all were from one another. Even how shockingly different some breads were made by the very same brand. But in the end, one hit all the right notes to emerge as a clear winner. So today, I'm going to be sorting the best gluten-free breads from the worst. I'll help you identify 3 key rules for buying gluten-free bread so you can cut through all the marketing gimmicks and avoid the junk. And stick around, because the final rule is the one that most people overlook. Right up front, you should know this video is not sponsored. And as always, I'm testing everything completely blind, so I'm not swayed by pretty packaging or branding fluff. But this video is supported by those of you who have purchased my sourdough course. If you don't have celiac, but you are concerned how gluten might impact your digestive health, then you should know that true sourdough is made with wild yeast and bacteria that actually break down the gluten over a long fermentation period. If you want to learn the easiest way to make this kind of delicious, nutritious bread at home, even if you've never made a loaf in your life, then check the link, and thank you so much for your support. Okay, just before we dive straight into the test, I'm ranking for just 2 things: taste and healthiness. That's it. Does it taste any good? And is it good for you? The one thing I won't be ranking is for value, because sadly there's barely any such thing as an affordable gluten-free bread. This stuff can cost twice as much as regular wheat bread, so that's why it's especially crucial to make the right choices. Making bread without gluten is a huge technological challenge. It tends to lack the textural and sensory qualities of wheat bread, and so producers rely on more fat, more sugar, and more oils to try and replicate those qualities. And yet, study after study shows that many people still think that gluten-free products are by definition healthier, or that gluten is bad for you, even though only 1% of the world's population are thought to have celiac, an autoimmune disease that causes inflammation of the small intestine. One study found that 65% of American adults thought gluten-free foods were healthier than conventional foods, and over a quarter bought gluten-free products to lose weight. It's like we've been conditioned to somehow thinking that those 2 letters slapped across a food label are some sort of symbol for healthy food. They're not. Often, it's the complete opposite. Before I go any further, I just want to be clear, I'm not ragging on gluten-free bread because I'm some kind of sourdough fundamentalist. Gluten allergies and celiac are life-altering challenges. I get why alternatives to conventional bread are hugely important. It's why I wanted to do this video in the first place, so I could thoroughly evaluate the choices out there and identify the genuine contenders for best gluten-free bread. So let's start with the first rule you need to keep in mind when buying gluten-free bread. And it's about whole grains and unrefined carbohydrates. You should know that most gluten-free bread lacks whole grains, a foundational ingredient to any healthy diet. Instead, you're more likely to see highly processed, highly refined flours and starches. And that means 2 things: less protein and less fiber than wheat flour. So rule number 1, your first 2 ingredients should include whole grains or nuts. That's things like buckwheat, millet, quinoa, brown rice, almond butter, almond flour, flaxseed, chia seed, and sometimes sorghum. That one's complicated, depends on how it's processed, and there's often no way of knowing that. If, on the other hand, the first 2 ingredients are water and starch, put the bread back. We're talking about those ultra-refined carbs like tapioca starch, potato starch, corn starch. These are basically empty calories, devoid of protein, fiber, or meaningful nutrients. Maybe the lesser of evils here is arrowroot. That one's at least low on the glycemic index. But all this means that some of your favorite gluten-free brands may not have made the cut for my test. For example, this is Udi's. It's one of the big gluten-free brands in America. And this is their delicious soft white loaf, which is anything but. The first 3 ingredients are oil and starches. And look at this. This tells you everything. Just half a gram of fiber in 1 slice. There's a whole bunch of other stuff in here that also makes this a train wreck of a bread. But we'll talk about those ingredients when we uncover a few of the other brands. So Udi's, out. Same goes for many of the grocery store in-house brands. That's Aldi's Live G-Free, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods 365 brand. That's just a horrific list of ingredients all around. And this Sourdough White by Rudy's, not to be confused with Udi's. Let's talk fiber now. Fiber works best in our bodies when it's part of a package that delivers nutrition at the same time. That's why whole grains are so awesome. They deliver protein, complex carbohydrates, lots of vitamins and minerals, and fiber. So this is why it's key to read both the nutrition content and the ingredient list, because not all fiber is created equal. Here's Schar's, which at first glance looks like a nutritional powerhouse. Check this out. That's 5 grams of fiber in your sandwich. Fantastic! And yet, it's stuffed silly with starches. Barely a whole grain in sight, until you get to the 11th listed ingredient. So where does the actual fiber come from? Modified cellulose, that's wood pulp. Citrus fiber, that's the peel and stringy bits left from juicing citrus, literally the parts you would never eat otherwise. Oh, and psyllium seed husk, the active ingredient in laxative medicines like Metamucil. The thing you take not to nourish yourself, but to, have a sit down. These aren't all inherently evil ingredients. What I take offense to is that these food companies are trying to trick you into thinking their bread is healthy because it's high in fiber. But they're using cheap, refined starches instead of nutritional whole grains. This is why you always need to check the ingredient list. Ignore what the label boasts about the number of grains, seeds, and natural ingredients. You need to read what's actually in it. Because a ton of gluten-free bread is packed with what I call fake fiber. I get it. You're doing the groceries, you're in a rush, you just have to move on with your life. But if you want a loaf that's actually worth consuming, it's worth taking that extra sec to check that the ingredients and the nutrition labels actually make sense together. But Schar's isn't the only offender when it comes to fake fiber. Base Culture is a producer that actually makes great gluten-free bread. It's just that this isn't one of them. This is their Simply White made with what they call real clean ingredients. Look at that fiber. That's almost 60% of your daily fiber in one sandwich. But remember, not all fiber is created equal. Here we go. Resistant tapioca starch, potato starch, tapioca fiber, and coconut fiber. Coconut fiber, that's coconut husks. In what world would you want to be eating a hairy coconut husk? Base Culture also makes a Simply Sourdough. That's another one bulked up with fake fiber. Just don't confuse that one with their sourdough loaf, which, unlike their Simply Sourdough, is actually made with a solid ingredient list. But honestly, that kind of confusion, that's like the dictionary definition of a branding failure. Okay, just to make it clear, here are the Base Culture breads to avoid. Simply White, Simply Sourdough, Simply Honey Nut. And here are the ones you can feel good about eating. Sourdough, 7 Nut and Seed, Cinnamon Raisin, Original Keto. Okay, rule number 2. No bread should have more than 2 grams of sugar per slice. Even that much is pushing it in my book, but sometimes you have to cut your losses. Honestly, just like with store-bought wheat bread, a lot of gluten-free bread is pumped with absurd amounts of sugar just to make it palatable. So, Trader Joe's, out. Whole Foods 365, you were already out, but now you're really out. Canyon Bakehouse, probably the most well-known gluten-free bread in America. Most of their line of breads are packed with sugar, except for one, which I'm testing in this video, and Rudy's Homestyle Original, 4 grams per slice. That's 2 teaspoons of sugar in your sandwich. You are so out. So checking whether your gluten-free bread is spiked with sugar. That's an easy one. But my third rule, this one's not so black and white, so you need to pay close attention. Rule number 3, check for oils and gums. Just about every gluten-free bread includes oils or fats, even the good ones. It's there to keep the bread soft and moist. The key thing is to be mindful of which oils they're using. If your bread contains seed oil, make sure it at least says expeller pressed. This means the oil has not been extracted with chemicals. It's been squeezed from the seed by mechanical means only, just like extra virgin olive oil. Speaking of olive oil, only extra virgin is extracted from the olive without excessive heat or chemicals. So avoid breads with canola oil, safflower, sunflower, soybean, sesame, unless it says expeller pressed. And by the way, you might see these seed oils described as high oleic. Don't be scared of that term. It's actually a good thing. That means the oil is rich in heart-healthy monounsaturated fat. Now, gluten-free bread is also infamous for containing gums, guar gum or xanthan gum. And that's because you simply can't make fluffy, airy bread without gluten. You need something else to provide the structure. So the gums act as both thickeners and stabilizers to help bind and blend everything together. But we're only starting to understand the effects of these gums in our bodies. We know that they change the bacteria in our guts, and at least in one study of guar gum, it showed a significant increase in the risk of inflammatory bowel disease. So here's the irony. If you're eating lots of gluten-free bread to prevent inflammation, you might be achieving the opposite effect over the long term. And of course, I should mention that there are plenty of gluten-free breads that contain a laundry list of unpronounceable additives and preservatives, like calcium sulfate or hydroxypropyl methacellulose. If there are ingredients that sound like they came from a chemistry lab, put the bread back. The truth is that the producer chose to use cheaper synthetic alternatives to whole natural ingredients, things like cultured brown rice or even olive oil, which both work as preservatives. Okay, so quick recap on the 3 rules. We now know that 1, the first 2 or 3 ingredients should be whole grains, not starches. 2, keep the sugar to 2 grams per slice or ideally less. And 3, limit the refined oils and gums and skip the synthetic additives. Okay, so let's get testing. The 6 I have here include 3 standouts for health and 3 that come in at a tier slightly below, but still way healthier than the vast majority of other gluten-free breads. Remember, I'm going to taste each bread blind, so I'm not swayed by any fancy packaging or health claims. And once I've reviewed each one for taste, I'll rank them independently for how they deliver on health. In the end, we'll see which loaf reigns supreme.
Okay, I'm throwing in a rogue loaf just to mess with Nicole's expectations. She doesn't know what this is. It did not pass the health test, but I'm going to throw it in for a reason. Let's see what happens. Let's go.
They all look so different. Hang on, wait. We have a 7th. What's going on? Okay, I'm up for it. My first thoughts are how small some of these are. They're tiny. When I make sourdough, it's about 2 together and even bigger. Although this one has that sort of really soft, almost marshmallowy texture of Wonder Bread. That makes me want to lift all these up. Very dry. Slightly more moist. Softer. Well, it's a nice texture. It has like body but soft. Very stiff. Very stiff. Okay, all right, let's get into it. Number 1. Okay. Inoffensive, but bland. Sorry. I could eat a sandwich of this but it doesn't bring anything to the table. It's just sort of a blank canvas. But it's not a bad taste. So number 1. Number 2. This is the texture that I quite liked. It's soft, but a bit more body to it. And a thicker slice than that one was. Okay, let's go. It's has some seeds, which gives it nice texture, but it doesn't seem very whole grainy. Maybe slightly sweeter than the other one. It reminds me more of conventional store-bought wheat bread than the other one did. Number 3, stiffer, a bit drier. Crumbly. This has a tang to it that almost reminds me of vinegar. I don't think I love the tanginess, and I don't care for the crumbly texture. Bit drier. It could just sort of fall apart, I think, as you eat it. 4, much different in texture. Sort of more gummy. Ooh, it's very wet. It has a very strong flavor. The other ones were quite bland, but this brings its own thing to the table. It's a little bit nutty, a little bit tangy, but also a bitterness. I like bitterness, but I can imagine it not being everybody's bag. Number 5, it is a little closer to the gumminess of 4, but not as wet. A little bit crumbly, like 3. Very odd smell, actually. This has a similar-ish vibe to number 4. I wonder if it has a similar ingredient. It is a little bit bitter. It is a little bit tart. I'm not sure if I actually like the flavor of number 5. Number 5 is leaving me with an aftertaste that I don't really like. Okay, number 6. Okay. The driest of the bunch. But the flavor is actually quite nice. Has some nice seeds that I'm crunching on. Bit of sweetness coming through. Very pleasant. And finally, number 7. I just picked this one up and I have to laugh. It's like Wonder Bread. I don't know what this is, but I suspect it's made with a lot of starches. Because it literally just dissolves. And it's gummy on the roof of my mouth. Listen, it doesn't have an unpleasant flavor. I don't like these textures. I don't like... This, to me, is like the epitome of like ultra-processed food. Doesn't seem to be a lot of goodness going on in this loaf. Can't wait to find out what that one is. Okay, I'm just looking at my notes. I want to return to my favorites and just give them another go. Number 2... came closer to that sort of conventional wheat bread texture. Yeah, it's a nice taste. Has some seeds that give it a nice pop. Not incredible whole grain flavor, but it's a very pleasant loaf. It's number 6. It was a really dry one, but I liked the taste of it. So let's see how it stacks up to 2. 6 is my favorite for flavor. It actually tastes like a lovely combination of whole grains, but the texture is quite dry. Whereas number 2 has the texture I like and a pleasant enough taste, but 6 has the best flavor to me. Okay, in order of least to favorite of taste. Number 5. Oh, okay, this is Simply Needs sourdough. Unfortunately, it did not have a flavor that I liked. It had an awful aftertaste. However, I know from research that this is a standout when it comes to health. It's full of whole grains like millet and teff and quinoa and buckwheat. It contains olive oil. On their website, it says extra virgin olive oil, but I notice here that it only says olive oil. So which one is it Simply Needs? Extra virgin is the oil that's extracted without heat or chemicals, so I hope it's extra virgin. In terms of health, I'm gonna give this a 9 out of 10. In terms of flavor, it's my least favorite. Next up, number 7. Okay, so this is my interloper, Carbonate White. This one, it didn't make the worst, only because it didn't have an unpleasant flavor, but it had all the hallmarks of a super processed, ultra processed bread. Marshmallow disintegrating. Oh, look, not a whole grain in sight. Holy mackerel, this one says dietary fiber is 15 grams, but there's no whole grain. I do see that the first ingredient is resistant tapioca starch. Resistant means if you heat up some starches and cool them down, you change the molecular structure so that they behave more like fiber, which is, I think, how they've achieved this whopping 15 grams. But you know what? That tapioca starch is delivering no nutrition whatsoever. And then you have your xanthan gum and your so-called natural flavors. So I'm giving this, in terms of a health rating, a 1 out of 0. Nope. 1 out of 10. A 1 out of 10. Next up, number 4, please. Okay, I did suspect. Pacha is made of simply 2 ingredients, just water and buckwheat, which gives this bread its unique flavor. Now, buckwheat is a strong flavor. Buckwheat sounds like wheat, but it is not even in the grain family. Very nutritious for you. So in terms of health, I am going to give this 10 out of 10. You can't get purer ingredients than this. Okay, number 3, please. Okay, Canyon Bakehouse sourdough style. Now, I know that this sourdough label is a bit bogus. Just because you put sourdough starter into your loaf doesn't mean that it is suddenly a sourdough bread. I'll tell you why. Because true sourdough needs a long fermentation period in order for you to get all those benefits that come from the sourdough starter. Bread like this, that's processed, industrial processing, is not doing a long fermentation. So in terms of health, I'm seeing a very mixed bag here. You've got some brown rice flour and then immediately some tapioca. You have whole grain sorghum, that's great, and then potato starch. So we're sort of whole grain starch. Expeller pressed canola oil, that's great. This has 1 gram of sugar per slice. This was the one Canyon Bakehouse that had way less sugar than all of the others. I'm gonna give this a 6 out of 10 in terms of health. Number 1, please. Base culture. I thought that this was bland but inoffensive. The texture is pretty good, very much like a wheat bread. Let's check out its health. Okay, so this is the base culture keto bread. Now, not all base culture is equal. The keto diet is a high-fat, low-carb diet, and I can see that reflected in the ingredients. There are no whole grains, but it's all whole nuts. It's almond butter, there's eggs, flax meal. It's held together with a little bit of arrowroot starch, almond flour. No offensive ingredients here. Some good amount of protein because you're getting those eggs and those nuts. Good fiber. And 0 sugars, guys. I'm gonna give base culture a solid 8 out of 10 for health. Number 6, please. Food for Life scored really well in our regular wheat supermarket bread video. How high? You'll have to go watch it. But this is their gluten-free flax. We tried to get their 3-seed, which is also gluten-free, and I think more widely available. I couldn't find it, so I went with the flax. This is chock full of sprouted grains. Now, sprouted grains enable the nutrients to be more accessible to your body, but it's a bit of a mixed bag. There are starches here. We have arrowroot and potato. There is a little bit of xanthan gum here. So I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10 for health. Number 2, please. Oh my God, I can't believe it. This is Walmart's Sam's Choice brand. It's their multi-grain, gluten-free bread. Let's see how it stacks up for health. Okay, so this one is another mix. It has whole grains like brown rice and sorghum, but then there are plenty of starches here. Oh, yuck. I see fully hydrogenated palm oil, which is just, this kind of saturated fat that you don't want. Oh God, and monoglycerides, which is an emulsifier, basically the calling card of highly processed food. So I've got to give this one 5 out of 10 for health. Okay, so to recap, my top pick for taste was Walmart's Sam's Choice. However, its health rating was only 5 out of 10. My top pick for health was Pacha. However, its taste rating was only 3 out of 10. So when you combine all the scores together, my top pick for taste and health is Food for Life gluten-free flax bread. I am going to put all the tallies for all the breads we tested in the description below, but here's a quick recap right now. If you found this video helpful and you appreciate the work I do on this channel, please give a thumbs up and let me know your experiences with gluten-free bread. I can't wait to see the comments for this one. She's working for Big Gluten, whatever that means. But listen, if you do want to learn how to make bread with wild yeast and bacteria that naturally pre-digests the gluten through fermentation, then you can find my course, How to Make Great Sourdough Bread, right here.